Alright, perfect. So everybody sees me in the picture. You probably recognize this from the beginning of the video you watched today. And of course, if I move it and get me out of the picture, it's going to fluctuate. So we're really looking for those blue spots and or black spots. And what that's going to do is if they're going to move, we obviously have something intelligent. So it's not just a breeze, because a breeze would actually be somewhat closer to that orange and red, because it's just the same hot air moving around. But blue and orange, or the blue and the black, is actually a cold spot. So what we're going to do, and this is actually going to go to you, I need you to hold this horizontal all night long. You're going to be the cameraman. If that red square, it's on that side, right? If that red square turns to a circle, just hit it again. You'll have 2 videos like last night's tour. It does happen accidentally. It's not a big deal. You're going to miss things on this video. I guarantee it. It's up to me to watch it on either my computer screen or on my TV screen to actually catch all of the little details, and then I'll give you the markers of where we actually caught stuff, or you can just watch it for yourself. I'm only going to hit the hot spots. You guys have to remember, you're giving me about 8 hours worth of data. I'm not going to spend 8 hours tomorrow reviewing all of your data. I'm going to go to the hot spots. So if we have a lot of activity here, for example, because this place is haunted, I'll watch the 5 minutes of this, watch the 5 minutes, or listen to the 5 minutes of the spirit box, and then I'll kind of move on to the next hot spot. So I'm going to skip a lot, but again, the full data is going to be yours to review. What do you got next? All right, lasers. Now, these guys, obviously it's daytime. These are going to be much brighter as it gets dark. Okay, so if everybody can kind of hold that for me for a second. So, just for a split second, kind of see how it hits my hand. This is going to help us see things that we can't see with the naked eye. So it's literally going to be a quick flash. So as it gets darker, it's obviously going to be way brighter. But with that being said, we like to do lasers next because, no offense guys, but we don't give them to teenagers because they like the flash cars and all kinds of stuff. So, Mom, these are probably going to go to you. And then I have another one, and this one might be a little bit harder to see. You're not going to see all of the squares until I put it on my hand. So as it gets darker, the squares are important because in the event we actually capture something, one of you is going to have a digital camera. Okay. We can put that image inside of a 3D software that we have and have a full 3D picture of the apparition that we actually caught. So you actually get both of these devices. Yes, you're in charge of lasers. You'll be fine. All right. Skeptic. So this device cannot lie. That's the reason why it always goes to my skeptic, and that's the reason why I asked at the very beginning, who's my skeptic? So you Ghost Hunting Show fans, you should probably recognize what this is, but nobody ever explains what it actually does. It measures electromagnetic fields. Okay, so there's 3 types. There's one that's natural from the earth, that's why it's green. There's one from electronic devices, wiring, cell phones, those kind of things, which is going to make it go into a pulse. We don't know pulses either. We can debunk that pretty quickly. We want that erraticism. We want it to go a little nuts. That's really what we're looking for. So when it goes nuts, you need to speak up and say, holy crap, there's something here. And it literally is either going to be strong enough to be touching this, or it's going to be right on top of it. And when you do get something that's a little erratic, we will try to debunk it first. I'm not going to just say, oh wow, look everybody, the demon's within us. That kind of stuff. That's not what we do here. Yes. All right. We have 2 different types of spirit boxes. What do we have left?
The thermometer and the
digital camera. So you'll be in charge of the digital camera. All right, we're going to do 1 spirit box tonight. That's actually going to go to the 2 of you. So I do 2 people on this, so that way they can kind of verify what they heard. The nice thing about this spirit box, first off, we can control the volume. Second, on the other one, we really can't. It's an on and off button. This one will record your entire session. It will not record us. Now, what is a spirit box? It is a radio speaker. So kind of think of a police scanner where you can manually change the dials so it goes through the stations. This is going to do that for us. It's already set up to a certain frequency sweep. That's the speed. I want you guys to tell me if you hear a radio DJ, commercial, a song lyric, or a disembodied voice. If you can make it out, we were probably meant to hear it. We'll actually touch base a lot more with this as we kind of move along. And this first location we're going to go to, aside from this one, is really a practice session for everybody. You're going to get a gist of how the thermal imaging works. You guys are going to really learn about how to ask questions. Obviously, we're going to test out some lasers if we can see them. Hopefully it gets dark very, very soon. We actually started pretty early. It's going to get dark right around 7:25, 7:30. We'll start to see that brighten up a little bit. But literally, I'm going to turn this on so everybody can get a gist of what it sounds like. Did anybody listen to the Spirit Box recording? on the website?
No, I've listened to them before, but I didn't listen to them.
Okay, so I use this one a little bit different. I don't have it set up so fast that only disembodied voices come up, like the ghost hunting shows, because that's all they're waiting for.
Yeah.
I want that DJ, that song here. That's what I want. I want those things. Especially, no offense, you guys are amateurs. I do this every day. So I need something that's going to be a little bit easier, and it's going to be easier. Think of it as Bumblebee from Transformers. Did you guys see Transformers, the movie? Has never seen Transformers?
They're young. They're young.
Yeah, but
Those came out when I was a kid, so.
No, the newer movies.
Oh, yeah.
The newer movies. All right, so Bumblebee was the yellow Corvette, or I forget what he was
Camaro,
in this movie.
yeah.
It was a Camaro in this one, right? So he actually talked through the radio because he didn't have a voice box like all the other Transformers. So he had to use the radio, so he would have to flip through the stations to find what he wanted to say and then let it play for us. That's exactly what I want you guys to do with this. So a DJ is actually going to actually say something once I set up the sweep. So you can see that it's sweeping the radio stations pretty quickly. And if you can make anything out of that, I want you to somewhat remember it. Now, if you don't, it's not a big deal because it's going to be recording it, and I'm going to test it in the morning anyway. Even when it's all the way down to mute, it's still recording at a nice even level for us. That's the beautiful thing about this device. I love it. So just, I know you've listened to them before, but just to give you a sense of the speed. Ghost hunting shows are going to really like they're really going to skip through it really fast. The only button you guys need to know, and it's nice that it's daylight, you can actually see it. There's a little wheel right here. It just turns the volume up and down. That's it. That way you guys can actually control it.
Continuously sweep? Or?
Yep. You can see it. It's sweeping. It's even recording right now. So the little SD right there tells me that it's going to the SD card, so that way I can upload your file for you tomorrow. Okay? So that goes to you guys. So you guys will listen together. When you hear something, you're obviously going to be able to verify each other because you might hear the word house and you might hear the word mouse, and we'll have to see where we're at to see if either one of those words actually relates. And if you were asking a question like, where are we? A house. Obviously that makes more sense than mouse. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Alright. What else do we have left?
Camera.
The camera, which you're going to take. Alright, so you're going to help us debunk some things that are going on with this camera. Okay? So obviously we know what these guys are right now, right? These are thermometers. So this guy, see the red dot? I know it's kind of faint because it's daylight. But this is only going to measure what the red dot touches. It's not going to measure the air in between the gun and the dot. So, oh my God, there's some names already. Ryan. So let's say Ryan is standing where I am, and he says, hey Nick, there's a blue spot on that wall. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test the wall all the way across, and I'm going to see that everything's the same temperature. So I now know that that blue cold spot is between Ryan and the wall. So the ambient temperature is what I really need to find out. This isn't a super active tool. It's only going to help us debunk things or prove something positive. It's going to give us two numbers. The top number is humidity. It's really not that bad tonight, believe it or not. It's only at 82. It's not too bad for me. The bottom number is the ambient temperature. So again, it's not a super active thing. You don't always need to have it out. I see you guys, your hand's kind of full already. So even if you wanted to pocket one of them, that's fine too. But this one, we will need to help Ryan figure out what all of the base readings are from all the different types of material.
So this, I don't have to push anything.
No, it will shut off, but when we want to debunk something, there's a power button on the bottom right. That's it. So I just like to have all of the temperature stuff in one area, and then this way you guys actually kind of have an array. Now, if you guys want to actually mix up your gadgets, by all means, just keep them within your own group. Okay, does that make sense? Obviously, sanitary reasons. I'm going to use a couple of devices on my phone to kind of enhance the tour a little bit. Now, I do keep a backup EMF in case batteries drain. It does happen. So in case Kevin's dies, I have one on my phone. It's not as sensitive, but it does work. I do use two different types of spirit boxes that stay on all night. The first one will give us words right here in the center of the screen where those three dots are, but it also saves all the words in a list. So last night they actually had 59 words. We're going to clear them out and we're going to start you guys fresh. Keep in mind, this is an app that is meant to be a game and a hoax. We are actually going to haunted locations where the spirit world can actually manipulate electronics. If they want to tell me something, they can use this to tell me what a word is or answer one of our questions. So even if you guys are asking a question, the answer might come over to me and vice versa. They just want to pick their device. So only 20% of the words that you guys find, roughly 20%, sometimes it's a little lower, will be relevant. I will give you the full list just in case something is more relevant to you and a story that you guys know that's personal to you that you didn't tell me about. So that way you guys can look at the whole list. And I already got the word await. So kind of give you a gist of what that looks like as it comes up.
Okay.
The second kind of device I will use on here is another spirit box, but it is a reverse spirit box. So it is literally going to take radio stations and flip it backwards. So it's going to sound like complete gibberish. What comes through in forward motion and an answer to one of our questions is what I'm listening for. What's nice about this is you can actually hear the question and answer sessions that I'm doing on your audio, and you'll get both the reverse spirit box and my audio, so you'll know what I'm asking, and it'll make sense. In the event that I hear something, as a writer, as a researcher, I will say the word that I heard or phrase, and then say rewind by 5 seconds for you guys to verify what I heard, that it was a direct answer. So I was waiting for the traffic to go down so you guys can actually get a listen. It's going to sound like complete gibberish. So in the event that I ask a question and it gives me an answer, then I know it was legitimate. So, can be a little creepy at times, but at the same token, it is a very useful tool because I use both spirit boxes at the same time. So all I have to do is turn the volume up and I can see this one and hear the other one. Does that make sense now? Okay, so I'm going to use both of those for you guys all night long. Now, questions, comments, concerns about your gadgets so far? Kevin, are we proving anything to you yet? All right, so we start here for a reason. Can I have my drink, please? This place used to be called Big John's. Thank you, dear. She's earning cash, guys. Can y'all tell? I love it. I love when she's here.
You just remind me of the dad from Casper.
The ghost doctor?
Yeah.
So here's the funny thing. The funny thing is, next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get accepted for my PhD program where I actually get to pick my own dissertation. You guys are actually collecting data for all the different books that I'm going to write on all of the different locations of Charleston and or the types of paranormal activity that comes up in different devices. So you guys are literally writing my dissertation, granted I get accepted, for all the different books that I'll be writing nonfiction in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm done...
she's like Kat from Casper.
But the funny, at the end of all of that, I will be a doctor of ghosts. So
Yeah.
I will have a legitimate doctorate for researching the paranormal.
She said there was a house built in limestone there.
Limestone?
Yeah, that's what she said. She looked it up, and I was like, that house got to
It
be
was the
haunted.
pink house. It was, yeah.
Oh, on Chalmers?
I think
She said
so.
she was reading about it last night. Said it was built out of
We're actually
limestone.
going to
I
get
was like,
very close to that place tonight, and I do talk about it just because it is it's the oldest house we actually have. They will claim that the Powder Magazine is the oldest building we have, but there's no record of the Pink House's actual construction and finishing. So Powder Magazine is 1713, Pink House is 1712. So again, I have that claim, and I have had activity there in the past. I mean, we're not going to go up to it because it is a neighborhood. We're not allowed to go in neighborhoods as far as what tour guides are allowed to do. But yeah, very old place, very unique, and there's actually pictures of it on the inside. There's only 3 rooms there.
Okay.
Really interesting home. It's interesting you brought that up. So anyway, Big John's. Sorry, didn't mean to do this.
Yeah, you're right.
Big John's. It was actually named after John Kennedy, who was a 1947 New York Giants football player. I'm not a sports guy. I had to look all that stuff up and have it memorized because I get asked all the time, who did he play for and when? But again, I don't follow sports. So he used to sit in the back of the bar, and the cadets would come over from the Citadel, which isn't too far from here, and they would come over for a drink, and he would let the bartender know if they were of age or not. One night, 2 guys come in. They weren't of age. John cuts them off. They get mad. They leave. They come back the next night, and they steal the cash register from the front of the building, from the front of the bar. Well, Big John, sitting in the back, pulls out his .45, shoots one, kills one. The bullet ricochets off the murdered person, and the bullet hole is still in the front of the building. It is still not filled in. The previous owner, Paul from Kane Rumbar, which if you Google this place to get here, you've seen it was Kane Rumbar. He just left town because of COVID. But anyway, he never filled in that bullet hole. He just covered it up with a panel. So anybody that sits in the front of the bar is said to be a little dizzy, disoriented. Welcome to East Bay Street. I bring this up on purpose. I know how paranormal activity is going to affect me. I know how it's going to affect Miss London. I don't know how it's going to affect any of you. I have had people pass out from this tour. I have the EMF is just too high. The paranormal activity is just too much for them. I've had witches not make it all the way through. I'm not kidding. If somebody in your party's not feeling well, you need to speak up for the other person. They're going to say, let's keep going. It's that important. I am CPR trained for this exact reason. The first time somebody passed out, I went, damn it, now I gotta go get CPR trained. So let's not make Nick use his CPR training tonight. So just speak up, we'll move you to a different area and get you some water, whatever we have to do to make you safe. 1886, we had an earthquake, so the mantle above your head wraps around the front of the building as well. This is where the first death occurred from that earthquake. That earthquake is significant to Charleston because we've only had one. And it was a big one. It was like a 7 point something on the Richter scale. So 1886, it's a little hard to get an exact measurement. So I want to say it went between 7.2 and 7.4, depending on which story you read. But his ghost is said to be seen right here on East Bay. I don't have any proof of it yet. The activity that I normally get from here to our next spot is going to be a lot dealing with John Kennedy, Big John, that this bar was used to be named after back in the 70s, and his teammates. So we do get a lot of activity from there, or we do get activity from random ghosts that feel like stopping by. So, you guys ready to go ghost hunting? All right, let's do this. Thank you. All right, we're gonna follow London. She knows the way. She's running, apparently.
I'm not running, I'm walking.
So, let's get everybody wrapped around. No. So I'll kind of give, like for each location we stop out, I'll kind of go over some quick clues. I'll give you a quick story of what's actually going on, and what to be listening for, what to watch for, and then give everybody a very quick direction on what to do. There'll be certain places where there's going to be no lasers at all. But I'll give that specific, this would be the perfect example. So the Crew Cafe over there, that yellowish white tall building over there, get the side porches, the piazzas, that actually is haunted, apparently by a suicide. They've asked me to do a full investigation for my podcast. Thank you, COVID, for interrupting my life. That was supposed to be done this summer, but of course I didn't make it. But I did a quick walkthrough with an EMF. I did get some upstairs in the restroom, some activity there from the blinky device. So I could probably debunk it pretty quickly with some of the old wiring that's in there, but I want to do a full investigation. Oh, this is going to get real interesting. Hopefully she keeps going. Yeah, she hovers around the neighborhoods. Hopefully she goes up into the right like she normally does.
Look, can't barely walk.
Yeah. There, guy pretty much jumped out in front of the car No, you weren't with me, so it was 2 nights ago. I was cutting through the neighborhoods, and he was drunk as a skunk. He literally just jumped right out in front of my car. I was already going 5 miles an hour because I could see him. But he literally stopped in front of my car. I'm like, dude, you gotta go. Like, it's 11:30. I gotta go home. Like, go. But anyway, so hopefully I get to do that investigation soon and actually be able to debunk it. However, there used to be a slave home, and I like to do all the research after an investigation, so I know I'm not going in, like, I want to go in blind. I don't want to get those suggestive thoughts of what to look for and things like that. So you guys are going to see that as we go through some of the locations. But that being a slave home, obviously it's been expanded and or it's been a whole reconstruction. The slave homes didn't have addresses. So to find a title and a deed to a home that didn't have an address, a little difficult. So hopefully I can actually make some sense out of what's going on there. A few history buffs. Down there at the stop sign, just past Crew Cafe, I want everybody to kind of picture the peninsula of Charleston. It used to be much skinnier. What we have now is man-made on the outskirts of it, so about a block closer to water. So Revolutionary War, ship rolls in and shoots a cannon, and it lands right there at that stop sign at those crossroads. There were homes there. There was no deaths, no tragedies. I'm sure some people got hurt, but again, no deaths, no tragedies, no paranormal activity. But just one of those little history things that you find that it's kind of like, oh, that's a long white color. I'm going to add it in. So, again, I'm going to repeat the same stories I repeat every night, guys. What we find on your gadgets, I can't make that stuff up. So where are we now? We're at the Red Barn lot. This is the barn lot where they keep the horses from the carriage rides. Okay, so you got to take a carriage ride, you'll probably end up coming down here. This is also the same Red Barn that actually had the horses that delivered most of that dates you through a little bit. We're looking at 1860s to 1920s. So this has a little bit of history to it. I will ask all of you with lasers, even during the daytime, there are horses in there now and they will kick you. So your spirit box, if you're going to be nearby it, try to keep it at just an audible level so that maybe you can hear it. As far as the lasers, nothing in those windows whatsoever. Absolutely none. The horses will pick. I am somewhat friends with these people. They will love me. So I'd rather not have another bad relationship with tour guide people that already don't like me because I take their business. We won't go there. So, your EMF sometimes will go off here. Sometimes it'll wait until we're on our way out as if in a, hey, wait, don't go yet. I got something to say. So you're going to get activity here. When you're going through your spirit box sessions, your questions that you're going to ask are going to be the same question once every 20 to 30 seconds for about 2 minutes. If you don't get an answer, talk to them as if they're a person standing right in front of you. And you can do the same thing with your audio because we might get an EVP on your audio as well. Ask those questions and we'll listen to it later. So you want to ask questions like something you know the answer to or a non-yes or no question. So right now we know that the barn is red. So you can say, hey, can you tell me what color the barn is? Wait 30 seconds. What color is this barn I'm standing next to? You know you're waiting for that word red. That's a suggestive thought. That's what I would normally call a suggestive kind of question. Later on, in another location, I'm going to give you some questions that you don't know the answers to. So that way you kind of get a gist of, oh, okay, I'm looking for a woman's name, but I have no idea how many syllables it is. Kind of thing. I don't want to give those kind of thoughts to you guys. I'm going to give you some good questions to ask. But again, keep it simple. How many people are with us? What color are my pants? What color is what's inside the barn? Those kind of things. So, is somebody here with us? It's very simple. If you get a no, it's obviously a jokester ghost messing with us because there's somebody here. So, we're going to explore this a lot. I want nice slow sweeps on the thermal audio or on thermal imaging. And then if you can get a base reading of all of the different kinds of material. You have metal in here, brick, wood, the concrete. There's nothing in here that can make that EMF go off. We're standing on a sewer line. So if it does go off, we actually have something going on. As far as your grids go, we'll show you kind of how to use them, me and London, but it's literally like point them down and keep a nice spray between them. You don't want to cross the streams. Bad Ghostbuster joke if anybody here got it. I don't see anybody laughing. Don't cross the streams? Really, guys? Ghostbusters? I know you can't even watch Transformers. I know you guys haven't seen it. But this is a place where me and London get to kind of walk around with you guys and answer any kind of questions about your gadgets. It's a good practice place. So the two of you, go ahead and turn your spirit box up and start walking. Start asking those questions, and that way the two of you can start verifying each other. If you can, again, nice slow sweeps. The camera technology is not always there because we'll see it like calibrate if you move too fast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not calibrate, pixelate.
Yeah.
So you don't want the pixelization. So nice slow sweeps when you're going through areas like this. The calibration is normal. It should calibrate often.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
But I'm keeping it to the ground, or
yeah.
I
So
mean,
you'll literally keep it within like 5 feet of you. Try to be as still as possible. Think of how it's supposed to be set up.
I wonder why that door is cold. See, it's like,
because of the material.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. See, that one side of that door is the same material.
A lot of people will try to debunk this regulation.
Yeah, it's a hot spot, it's a cold spot. It's probably like a spot you can see straight through or something like that, right? Yeah, looking for cold spots. It's just going to be cold because it's further away. We're not close enough to it.
It might go to red and go away. Sometimes you've got to hunt it down. dad and kids, right? Okay, so whenever dad actually has something going all the way up to red, I'm hoping to call upon you guys to get closer to him. Because that means he's got something nearby. So that's when you guys are going to go running and try to do a quick answering session. Does that make more sense now? But try some other questions right now. Let's take those simple ones. Give us different colors you might see. Red is very easy for them to come through with. I'm going to think Mom is getting the gist of those lasers.
Yeah.
You can't see.
Well, this is a FLIR. It's a FLIR camera here. That's what it says, FLIR. It's a battery pack right there, I think. Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Find us a red spot. So what are you finding on yours? Anything?
No, it's just, from what I can tell, just normal. Nothing like out of the ordinary cold.
So all of that black you see is going to be distant.
Yeah.
So anything that it can't make out, it's automatically going to turn it to black. You're obviously probably also noticing all of the white lines that are showing up. Those white lines are from structures. So if like go ahead and just point it at this over here. You see any different angle for you? You see like the white line right here?
Yeah.
That's the pole. It notices that as a structure. So if we get something intelligent that's going to go by, it's probably going to put a white line around it, which will be really nice if we capture that. They have captured in the past thermodynamics in reverse. So the thermodynamics laws state if you see a cold spot, that means there's something else getting hotter somewhere else. So there was a bunch of us kind of collaborating after, I think it was this area or the next area, and all of a sudden in the center of us there was a spot that got about 7 degrees hotter, which means we caught it in reverse, which means there was a cold spot nearby growing, and we were leaving the area. So, but we still caught it. Does that make sense? So it's like the fact that you can even see that end of it is exciting because you can watch something grow.
Yeah.
I mean, it went up 7, 8 degrees, and it's literally, and it was quick. So it wasn't like, oh, the sun was coming out, or it was making that spot warm, hot, or our breath was making it hot because we were all close by.
Yeah.
It was literally growing in temperature, which was very exciting for me.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's got to be haunted places here, 100%. As old as this place is, the war and all that slavery that went on here, there's got to be.
Dude, it's every night. I don't go, like, when we part ways, of course I got another tour after you, but when we part ways, and you're like, all right, we didn't really see much. When I look at everything as a collective, all the words from here, your video, my audio, all of that stuff together, sometimes it'll actually aim at one person in the tour or something that's actually happening in Charleston. We had riots here.
Yeah.
Okay? 2 nights after the riot, everything that popped up was about the riot. Everything. All the words heard on the spirit box. Everything that showed up on the spirit box word list. Even some of the, like we heard anger.
So it's not residual, it's actually intelligent haunting.
We have a lot of intelligent.
That's crazy.
And it happens
you
often.
can manifest that energy too.
Yep.
From,
I mean,
events.
even-
The rioting, all the energy and everything that's going on with rioting. I mean, I would assume they could draw energy from all that. I mean, all those people that angry.
And it was pretty active that night.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, all right, I really had to draw some people out that I know normally talk to me every night as far as the spirit world. It was like, hey, we don't like this. We're pissed off. You're destroying the city. Like, stop. Like that's the energy that came through every kind of device that I looked at. It was nuts.
So if your session is aimed at me, let me know. I just want to know.
What
You
I
get the
won't know
feedback.
until you tell me.
You get the feedback. He sends the video.
I've had the word like pregnant, belly, not
Oh.
married, those kind of things come up, and then the next morning, like I didn't bring it up because it didn't relate to my stories, but I give you the full list, and then the girl tells me, she's like, me and my boyfriend, we just found out we're pregnant. I just wanted to let you know.
Huh.
And all those words made sense. So I don't know those things.
Yeah.
I have had people come on this tour, and they actually come on with kind of a personal agenda, which I'm not really game for. I'm all about, let me tell you the history. If the stuff comes up, great. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I have had a tour when I first got started, and I'll never forget this tour because I was just getting going. It was a war vet from Iraq. Everything that came through was from his buddy overseas that died.
Wow.
Everything. It didn't matter what story I told or what questions I asked. Every term that came up was, I want to say he probably had 60% of the words on the list were relevant to his friend that he lost.
He died in Iraq. How does that work? How does that? I wonder how that works.
You get followed.
It was
I
followed.
mean, I guess-
And actually, he kind of came into this with that personal agenda and just warned me. He's like, go through your thing, but I'm just letting you know, I've been having a lot of weird stuff happen, and I think it's my buddy from Iraq. It was my driver. He apparently was the gunman, and this was the driver. So everything came up about this guy. And he wasn't American. I think he was Spanish descent somewhere. So
Yeah.
there was Spanish words that came up. Like, that just made complete sense.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And again, it's I don't know these things until y'all tell me. I can't make it up.
No,
Yeah.
Hey guys. Sorry, the fans are right in the face, but you got some rain going on. That's awesome. So let's get that spirit box turned up. Dad's got some red, so let's see what's actually going on here. So,
Dang. It's still going off though.
so at this point, now that I think we might actually have something intelligent, let's see if we can prove it. We have one device going off. Let's see if there's something else. So if we actually have somebody here, tell us what color the barn is. Let's turn it up a little bit so we can hear it. Right? About? Perfect. I need to know what color the barn is. Pretty simple question. Tell me what color the barn is. So I use your device as communication as well. So what I'll do with that, if it's all the way up to red and it's going berserk the whole time, I'll actually ask the spirits to step away and make it go to green. Like, prove to me that you're here. If you don't want to chat with us, that's fine. Tell me, just back away. And I'll like do the motion. And it'll still be red, and all of a sudden it will slowly go down to green. It happens often, just to try to get that gist of what's actually happening. But the fact that you were going berserk, and all of a sudden it's gone when we all arrive, they obviously don't want us here right now. That's kind of my thought process. And I don't have a whole lot going on. I did actually get a lot of words. I don't see anything that relates.
First time you asked what color,
Yeah.
I got no.
So she uses the same type of app, only mine has a bigger vocabulary. So she has the free version, I have the paid version. Does that make sense? So I think 3,000 words on hers, 9,000 on mine. So just so you guys know, at the top of your Evan page, I don't know if you guys noticed, but all of the gadgets that I use for this type of tour, even the ones that we didn't pass out tonight, there's a list of them at the very top. There's a link that shows you what all of them are. Mom and Dad, let's make great Christmas gifts. But there's also... And then you call me and I tell you how to help out get rid of it for you. But all the apps that I use are like the free versions. I list all those too. So literally, if we go out to lunch somewhere here downtown, we turn this app on, we put it on the table and watch what happens. Because you just never, save that word list and take it home and analyze it later. So that way we can still talk and eat and have a good time. And it's like, oh crap, look, the ghost is here. All right. So everybody kind of have a good gist of how those things. Did you guys say anything else?
I heard color.
Color.
Yeah, when I asked what colors you use,
Okay.
I got different colors.
Might not be the smartest ghost. We'll just kind of go with that. But it's starting to get dark. So 7:30 now. Do you guys want to continue on? Well, yeah, we can go on to the next place. So the next spot is actually a lot of history. Yeah, you can shut those down. Did she kind of warn you about the green one? It will heat up after about 5 minutes if you're holding it. Yeah, so you want to give it a little bit of break in the time anyway. Come on, London. Get on the program.
She told me a lot about their stuff. That was great.
She's talkative. She knows her stuff. All right, so you guys, we talked about your thermal imaging. We talked about that, and what was the other question that you asked me? What were we just talking about? Oh, something relates to one of y'all. So I don't know what relates to you guys until you tell me. So again, I don't do personal agenda tours. If something comes up with all of the words or something on the spirit boxes later that I hear, and you're like, oh my God, that was my dad or my grandfather, whoever, I'll give you my email address. Please let me know, because personal experiences make this a much better tour. I've had that happen before. War vets have come on this tour. I'm just telling them about one of my first tours was a war vet, and it was all about his buddy that he lost in Iraq. So again, didn't matter what story I told. It was his story. He wanted to talk to his buddy, which is fine. All right, I got the name Abigail, which really doesn't mean anything to me. So I will always tell you guys what the words are in case something does relate. So let's go on some history. Let's head over here. Abigail. mansion site. So obviously it's a parking lot now, so we will be mindful of cars as they come in and out. The Pinckney mansion site, the mansion was in the front. This would have been lined up with Eliza's garden, and then the slave quarters would have been in the back. So who are these people and what do they do for Charleston? So Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. So we have 3 Charleses. The son and the nephew signed the Constitution. Okay? So that's obviously pretty prominent for us, right? The father was obviously a big politician here in town, and we were already going crazy. That's nice. Love it. So, but I like to talk about Eliza. Eliza married Charles so she can stay here in the United States. She wasn't from here. She's from England. Her dad was sick. He thought he was dying. He wanted her home. He was trying to get all his kids home. Thought he was going to be dying soon. That didn't happen. She married Charles to stay here, but he got better. So he started sending her gifts anyway, still, like he always did. He's, whatever. And they were just things from England. She was a botanist. She loved plants. And one of those plants happened to be indigo. You guys are standing, literally standing, where the indigo crops for Charleston started. And what's so important about indigo? First off, we still use it today. It is the blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. Okay? That's a big deal. And it started right here. But it had to be a cash crop for Charleston because the rice plantations were going downhill and Charleston wasn't the wealthy city that it once was. So Eliza was also the businesswoman that sold this plant overseas to all of their leaders so that way it can be a giant cash crop and save Charleston. So it's a pretty big deal. So you're going to see indigo this and indigo that all over town. And I think last night we actually had somebody staying at the Indigo Inn, which is 2 blocks that way. And now they know why it's called the Indigo Inn. So a couple things you guys can ask Eliza. There's a lot of weird facts about her. You can ask, first off, how old she was when she died, what she died from, and where she died. So those are 3 major questions. I'm not going to give you the answers. She had 4 kids. I told you one of them was named Charles. Only one of them was a daughter. Find out what the daughter's name was. Okay? So we'll talk about her. Find out what happened to the mansion. That's a big deal too. What else? Oh, she was the second wife named Eliza from Charles. Back to back. So she actually goes by Eliza Blank Pinckney. So find out what the blank is. That's pretty prominent too. So once you know what that name is, you'll realize how many books have been written about this one. So again, your EMF's going to go crazy and pretty much do the whole lot. Normally on the back of the Five Church restaurant, there is a light. Sometimes it's all the way on, sometimes it's not on at all. You see the one, but there's one to the right. And a lot of times it comes up blinking in different intervals. A lot of times it goes in sync with your EMF. However, I can't prove that right now. It's not even on. That usually tells me if it's flashing super fast like a strobe light, I know we're going to have a lot of activity. Because it's the energy that comes out of this place that makes it do that. It's the EMF that's affecting it. They say that they have no clue why it does that, but I know why. I see it every night. Nice slow sweeps with your thermal imaging. Again, base temperature reads on everything. You're going to see a lot of different temperatures in here too, just based on the amount of vehicles. Ask a lot of those questions that I just asked to try to be very, very specific. Lasers need to stay below the wall, so we don't want to go above. They will interfere with business and people driving. Wow, what a pretty sky that is, huh? I don't normally get to see it this time of night. I actually experimented with different times this past week. Like I was doing 8 and 10 just to kind of see, because I think this one was already booked ahead of time, so I didn't change it. Or I had somebody booked on the 9 o'clock. But yeah, I don't normally get to see that stuff. So let's see what we find. I'm going to do my own question and answer, so you guys have a little bit more audio, and we'll see what we find. Fair enough? All right, let's do this. Need to separate, need to watch where they're going. Let's see where they're going to go, so I can go in the opposite direction.
What? You just can't even do anything, can you?
I mean, it checks temperatures.
Yeah. This one, like I said, if you just put it on temperature, it'll show me 86. And then, like if I put it on you, it says 98. But all the vehicles and stuff are just cold. The ground's cold, obviously. Gotta be careful when you put your finger right here. The camera's right there, so the finger goes over the edge right there.
You guys hearing anything out of your spare box?
Right before we're supposed to end this, the first time we leave, you go into the open. That way we can go straight there. Yeah, I've been trying to keep it. He's talking about them lights and stuff, start flickering and stuff. I was trying to focus on that area. And anytime he gets like that thing going off, I'll put it in that area. But it's usually a cluster of people, so it's hard to pick up anything. So if there was something there, like a temperature flux or anything like that. It'd be cool to check out some of the most haunted places here. That'd be cool because there is 100% of places that are haunted here. I mean, there's no way it's not.
Somebody that's not as old as Eliza, because Eliza was in the 1760s.
She wouldn't know what a Honda Pilot is.
Right. But again, doesn't mean that. But I also did, my podcast episode yesterday was about the pilots from 9/11. So could be relating to me too. I don't know. I'm gonna kind of ponder and see what else comes up around it. But they are getting a lot of red, but they're not hearing a whole lot on their spirit box. What I told them, I just got the longest phrase I think I've ever heard. I asked her what her daughter's name was, and she said, "I already told you once."
Yeah.
Like, that's long. Like, on the reverse spirit box. Like, it came through clear as day. You'll have it on your audio, because I had, obviously...
I've never heard nothing that long. I watch a ton of ghost stuff.
Right.
Like, a lot. I don't believe TV shows on TV. I
Most
like
of them are
people who do, like, YouTube, like say you recorded your stuff on YouTube and put it on YouTube. I believe that more so than I do a haunted TV show. Like, that's just me. That's just my
most
belief.
of them are set up for entertainment.
Yeah, that's
You
why
know,
on TV,
and again,
yeah.
Like I was telling y'all before, at the end of this, you might say, okay, that was it was all right. But when you actually see the evidence in the morning, that's really what makes sense. It's this, they don't show you the hours and hours and hours that they put into a location.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those places, they're there for 3, 4, 5 days. You know, I do this every night, so the fact that I can continue and know what questions to ask and what she's going to give me and this, that, and the other, that's where it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
Just like I told Jennifer, I'm going to give you guys links to all of the stuff that's not my own investigation. That's going to be, hey, this makes sense because it might be my own investigation, but there's links in there to verify that even.
Yeah.
So it's going to even still make it verifiable.
Now that you said Abigail, something just flashed back. So,
that?
when I was in 4th grade, I woke up and there was a girl sitting on the edge of my bed.
Okay.
But I couldn't understand her name. That was in 4th grade. Then when I was 22, my brother saw me. And he described the same girl that I saw.
Okay.
Well, I also had somebody that's like an energy healer. I went to her about it because I didn't want her to follow him around her house.
Sure.
And she said that she thought her name started with an A, but I don't know her name. You know, like, I don't know
Honestly, we feel like even that spiritual healer feels like she had a little girl following her since she was a baby. That's what she told her.
It's
So,
possible.
Yeah. I mean, like, I didn't
She
go
saw her in
into that
several
because
houses,
my
like,
mom is
yeah.
everywhere my mom is.
But Abigail could be a clue to,
Right.
I've
Yeah.
never seen anything personally,
and
but
it could
she
be
has.
just that one little clue that she wants to give you until you look at the whole list. Something
Right.
else makes sense that you may have heard from that healer or something you may have recognized when you were a kid.
The healer told me to communicate with her, but I just don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to, you know, like, I don't want to open anything up that I can't close.
So the easiest thing I can tell you is that if you're going to kind of dabble with this a little bit and try to communicate, just wear a piece of hematite. Hematite
Okay.
wards off negative energy. So especially if you have a child that's, you know, trying to
Yeah.
communicate with you, they're not going to be bringing a whole lot of demonic activity.
Yeah.
A piece of hematite, necklace, in your hand, in your pocket, so have something on you. And it's you can find it at any kind of magic shop.
She just don't want to bring it around our kids.
Yeah.
Like bring like
Go somewhere
something
else.
into
For a
our
long
family.
time, I wouldn't let them sleep in their own room because I didn't want them to wake up and be scared like I was. You know?
So what I will tell you is that you can take a drive somewhere, grab this out, free one, grab that piece of hematite in your pocket, go sit by the woods or the side of the road somewhere, even in your car.
Yeah. So you don't have to do anything now. Is what you're saying? Yeah, you can go anywhere.
It's
Go
just
anywhere.
attached to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's already attached to you.
Kind of like the guy from Afghanistan. It's attached to him
Exactly.
from overseas.
Just go
Yeah.
anywhere that is just you. Look at the word list later.
Yeah.
Don't use the reverse spirit box because it'll creep you out when you're alone, especially if it's coming through your car speakers.
Yeah.
Now, I use it that way, but I do this every day. For somebody that doesn't, it can be a little nerve-wracking for one. Even a quick spirit box session, if you have, these devices are not expensive. The most expensive one is one of these guys. So,
I'll definitely be looking at the words because where the energy healer said that I picked it up from has some specific points to it. So if those words come up, I'll let you know.
all right. You guys hear anything else?
No, she said she thought she had slaves.
Yeah.
Okay. She will bring up. Somebody's having another bridal party.
Yep.
My group last night didn't make it all the way through. We'll just say that. They were having too much of a good time. They're like,
Oh.
we can't handle the ghosts.
Y'all had,
They literally
you
dropped
had a
out.
party last night, huh?
It was funny. So we did get obviously some activity. What I've heard. I have had people when I turn to this page, back of the line, so I'll ask like this back here, they'll just like a name or a title like cook or there was the other one. There's another title thing. So we're gonna walk about 4 blocks. Your EMF's gonna go crazy because of the parking meters. There's too many cops around here. I don't need any fines today. So that's gonna go crazy for parking meters.
Oh, yeah.
Feel free to listen to your spirit box. Absolutely no lasers until we reach until we're pretty far down the alley. You know that you're on pictures. Keep filming for us. No lasers. Alright, you guys ready? Yeah. Do this.
Yeah, I'd like to explore like all the haunted houses, like all the very, like, you know, I think even sorority houses here would be haunted.
They
As
are.
old as they are,
Yep, they are. There's a couple of them. I haven't done them yet.
that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
And you know, the podcast is really about all the haunted locations around the area. So it's the investigations that I've done myself with these gadgets.
Okay.
So I do have the Gettysburg episodes coming up, just because that was my vacation, and I did do those 5 spots that I told you about at the beginning. But I mean, I got more. There's so many around here in Charleston.
Yeah.
But I debunk stuff too. So if a place is haunted, I'm gonna go do my very discreet investigation during the daytime
Yeah.
and figure it out. So you guys will see the podcast at the very top of the page, which I think you already may have.
So do you put them on Spotify or Apple?
They're on everything.
Okay.
You got everybody? All right.
That's right. He got more speakers than he does in the car.
So do you not investigate that?
Like the slave,
Market?
that market, slave
There's
market.
nothing there.
Really?
It's not actually the slave market. They didn't sell slaves there.
What did they do then?
It was just an open market. The actual
So I don't know- I
slave
don't know
mart
that.
is actually near the Pink House.
Oh, okay.
And I have done an investigation there.
Okay.
And I got not enough to actually deem it haunted.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll catch up with these folks out there.
Where do you think we're going?
If I can't help you, then I'll give you a
You didn't say
thing, but it doesn't have to
It's a couple blocks away, so but I don't know exactly where you're going.
No, I had other people like kind of follow through, but for verification reasons, unless it's prominent, like Kevin there, where I follow him all the time. It's one thing walking out over there.
For sure, yeah. Be a lot of little shops over there. I don't know where we're going, so.
Absolutely. She said, where the boys are. I'm like, it's more parents.
Yeah.
hit the light, make a right, and then go across. That'll be on the left.
London's still in front of you guys?
Yeah, she's right here.
She just dyed her hair. I can't see her. Right down this alley.
Alright.
It wasn't as pretty, wasn't it?
Pretty cool looking alley.
Oh, it's an amazing alley.
Pretty cool.
London, you want to stop and grab a picture?
Yeah. I just turned off the camera. Smart.
Yeah, good job. We do get some weird light anomalies down here and some weird shadow tricks. So my wife,
Okay.
I'll tell you about that. Did you get two?
Yeah. I ain't no dooney.
The rule of thumb is that we have two is to have something to compare it by. So in the event that we actually have something, it goes to my wife. She designs everything for Swords and Cemetery, and her degrees are in graphic design and photography. So she does all my book covers, she does my logo from scratch. So I need something, like we're getting ready to do grill boards, I have to tell her like what size I need, how the digital picture needs to look. So she's actually taking word bounce. Yeah. I just seen you had like the red light on. It was bouncing around a little bit. Alright. Let me line you guys up along this wall here, tell you where we're at and what's going on here. Alright, so kind of mindful of the lasers because these are hotel rooms behind me and businesses behind you. So this is Lodge Alley. A lot of people, a lot of tourists don't come down here. This is actually one of the oldest streets in Charleston, believe it or not. And when I say streets, people lived here. This was their residence. It did not look like this back in 1790 when it was actually started as a street. The bricks you're walking on are made of clay. I did kind of check out everybody's shoes when we first met, so everybody seemed to be good. Nobody was wearing crazy heels or was too drunk to walk in the shoes that they had. But this is, we get a lot of weird activity here. I used to tell stories about when I was working with a psychic in Myrtle Beach and those investigations that I did there, but there's been so much here lately and there's so much history here that I decided, let's stop and kind of recap, see what words came up. Your EMF should have gave us a little bit of a blip at the beginning, but that's from Magnolias. We've caught shadow people with the thermal imaging camera and the digital camera to verify each other. If you haven't caught on by now, I don't use one device to say that we have activity. I need two or more to verify what's actually happening. I think I've used the word verify at least 100 times by now with you guys. I got the word disaster, so I don't know that any disasters actually happened. The water's that way, and of course, it would have been much closer. So low tide would have stunk down here. This was where some low-class people lived, so this was not high income. They did an archaeological dig in between these clay bricks and found some of their tools, some of their silverware, and some small articles of clothing, like little patches of it. So that's how they were able to determine what kind of class these people were. So we have like grocers here, we've had mariners here, seamstress or two, but I keep getting the same name that pops up from time to time. I think he's showed up at least 4 or 5 times in the past 2 months. It's just odd that it keeps showing up, and I have the full list of residents of all the people that ever lived here with their addresses and their jobs. So it's really cool to get a name and to be able to say, okay, he lived here in 1790, here's the proof, and it's very cool. So did you guys hear anything on your spirit box along the way here? No, I know it's very busy out there, and it's a Saturday night, so I never know what to expect. Some people crank it way up because of the radios out there. But again, I want nice slow sweeps as we kind of exit through here with your thermal imaging camera. London will take some pictures coming back this way. We're going to be walking into a neighborhood, so it's another no laser zone. We are going to do an experiment with your gadgets towards the end, just to kind of see what's actually happening with that one building, because it changes every night and I never know what's going on. And I got the word surprisingly. Keep in mind too, guys, this is also where the Masons used to meet. Tonight's a nice cool night, but if it was a normal Charleston summer night, it'd be hot and muggy. They'd be down here in their suits talking business. And that was prior to when it became an actual residency street. So that would have been prior to 1790. And then I think they did it again after it became a normal, like what we're looking at here. So we're talking 1890 to 1915 or so. And Masons used to be down here as well. So pretty cool place. Not a lot of people come down here. And we have caught some actual evidence. So I do like to come down here. But we're going to walk through slowly. It's still kind of light out, so I won't pull out the flashlight. You might actually be able to get that St. Philip's picture since you couldn't get it last night. Normally the digital camera goes to one of y'all, but we got a short crowd. This is actually set up for a team of 10. So let's take the hike up this way and see if we can capture it. So that shadow person is actually caught along this wall, this half wall right here. So again, there is some mud on the wall, which will make it look like there's something there, and it's cooler, but mud is cooler than brick. You heard Ariana Grande? Yeah. She's serenading you back there? Nice. At least you recognized it coming through that quick. That's good. Getting a little worried. You guys haven't heard much.
lights right on the ground. Usually the lights do that. There's no light on the ground there, and there's a water spot because it's reflecting off the light. Yeah, I just figured maybe it was reflecting off the light. No.
Popular area for all the ghost tours, and I don't like to be interrupted. And they drag out the story for like 10 to 15 minutes. This is their big finale. I'm going to give you the gist in about 4 minutes total, and that way you guys know what you're listening for, what you're watching for, those kind of things. So the big steeple you see is actually St. Philip's Church. There's a lot of stories and legends that are attached to that. I kind of keep those in my back pocket for very small tours or private tours that want 2 hours out of it. But that's a beautiful site if you guys haven't been up there. And there's some really cool cemeteries attached to it. They actually have one on each side of the street. So, but anyway, Philadelphia Alley. Before that, let's go and turn the gear box down. We're going to record for a little bit. Audio. Welcome to Charleston. So, especially during this story, right? What's that? Before Philadelphia Alley, this used to be called Dueler's Alley. So duels, as in take 20 paces, turn and shoot. The story is very simple. Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd moved down here from Rhode Island. He was supposed to get married to his fiancée Amanda, but she just inherited a bunch of money from her deceased parents, so she's pretty much rich. The lawyer handling the money says, no, you're not getting married yet. So he sends the doctor away to go start his practice somewhere else to prove that he's not just after her money. He moves to Charleston. The coachman that brings him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. So somebody walking by said, you don't want to stay here, let me take you somewhere else. So he takes him over to 59 Church Street, which is about 1.5 miles diagonal from here. That man's name was Ralph Isaacs. That was his name. He was an attorney here in Charleston, and attorneys back then were not what attorneys are now. So he's just a regular Charlestonian citizen, and the doctor, his practice starts to do really well and became known as the Whistling Doctor because he's making lots of money. He whistled all the time. He's pretty happy. So Ralph and the doctor used to go see plays together, but because they were in different hierarchies of Charleston, they had to sit in different seats. The doctor obviously had much better seats than Ralph. So they talked about the plays on the way home. One night, after going to see Richard III, they actually started arguing about one of the actresses that was in town. Ralph did not like her. The doctor did. He absolutely loved her. But Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home. To get pissed off at each other, they go their separate ways. Ralph, having ties with the city of Charleston, writes in the newspaper what a disgrace the doctor is to the city. He's not from here, he takes all of our money, his rates are high, whatever. The doctor gets mad and he rebuttals and says, let's go down to Dueler's Alley and we're going to settle this once and for all. Now the loser of a duel is normally what?
Dead.
The loser would normally go for a gate right over here, through the courtyard, and over to St. Philip's Cemetery where their hole was already dug. They drop them in, throw some dirt on top, and go have a pint to celebrate the winner. That's normally how the duels would go. That's not how this went. So the doctor and Ralph, back to back, take 20 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air and shoots. He didn't want to kill his friend, he just wanted to make a point. He was willing to forgive all the insults that Ralph made. But Ralph took 2 shots below the knees on the doctor. He drops. So he didn't go through the death gate. His friends pick him up and they carry him home, where he dies 10 days later. It is said as you walk through the alley, you can hear his whistles and or gunshots. Do not take this tour on the 4th of July. You will hear plenty of loud cracks and booms. So I had my folks texting me like crazy that night. Hey, I heard this. I'm like, that was a firework. That was a firework. I have had 2 cases where I've actually could not debunk the whistling that's heard. Keep in mind, this is a legend and a lore that we all tell, and everybody in Charleston knows what this story is. So people walking by will probably whistle to try to throw us off because they don't know that we're actually recording this. This is where you're going to turn your audio up to listen. if we're going to pass through another tour, I'll need you to turn your spirit box down to be a spectral so he can tell his version of the doctor story. Lasers, you can try to keep them warm, see what actually happens. Of course, we want nice, good video from you guys, and by all means, keep testing so he can verify his temperature. The bricks that we're going to walk on, this is another little historical fact, so it has nothing to do with the doctor. The bricks are going to get older as we move along the alley. The bricks up here were repaired and replaced in the 1990s. They're going to look relatively new, maybe a little bit more. But near the end, they're actually sun-dried bricks from slave children, where you can still see their fingerprints, and we have one full handprint at the very end of this alley. I will point it out, but we will have to keep moving quickly because somebody lives right next to it, and we don't want to disturb. Like, we'll obviously turn the spirit box down when we get close to the house. You can't miss it. It's giant. But again, I'll point it out. It is a piece of our history. It's not a part of our culture anymore, but it is part of our history. The handprints and fingerprints can be found in 3 places: here, Boone Hall, and Drayton Hall. So if you actually Google footprints Charleston or handprints Charleston, they'll tell you exactly where to find them. So if you guys want to check out the death gate, it's right over here. The wall is original, the gate is not. So it might give you a little bit better perspective. Drop them in, let's go have a drink. That's how it would go. Those are the times. So we're actually going to walk down this way and head to one last location before we
first week we thought.
Nice. Enjoy every second.
Got a lot of foot traffic coming up. Kind of waiting in the past. So we have one last building we're going to check out. Then at the very end, in the front of this, then we're going to, I'm sorry, Sydney. We're going to check out a quick temperature change where sometimes at night, the very peak of the building in the front is 30 degrees difference than the stone right below it. It's about 5 feet difference. So it shouldn't literally be 30 degrees in temperature. It should be anywhere between 7 to 12 degrees, and we'll verify it with your gadget. But it's one of those instances where if it's 30 degrees difference, that's when I know that the activity is a little bit higher, so we need to definitely check out the spirit box and more of the words. So the story of the building behind you, it actually used to be part of our cotton industry. So the last gentleman that actually had it as a cotton warehouse, his name was George Poirier. He inherited the business from his dad. So he had no idea what he was doing. He was a silver spoon kid, and he was just clueless. He got himself into a bunch of debt. So we also have the boll weevil in town. So I'll mention that because the boll weevil is a bug that he was caught. So his crop is now really not doing well. And the American debt is just building. So he actually sells all of his cotton to the British. And again, right across the street from the Wagner building is where Pineapple Park is now, but that would have been a wharf for that British ship to roll up, and George can watch everything from the second story at the front of this building. So he rolls up, they unload all the cotton by horse and buggy out to the ship, and once it's all loaded, somebody gets too close to the cotton with a pipe. The whole ship catches fire, and everybody jumps ship and dies. George watches the whole thing from the second story. Now, depending on what story you read, they'll say third story. All my evidence says second story. I usually get the number 2, second, those kind of things. But what does he do? He piles up all the furniture, puts a captain's chair on top, climbs to the top, swings a noose, and he hangs himself, unfortunately. It was a newspaper kid the next morning that found him. He came down to the corner to sell his newspapers, and he sees the swinging corpse. It is said you can see the shadow of a swinging corpse from the second story. Very sad story. We're not going to be able to see through windows with the thermal imaging cam, but when we get to the front, I'm going to get a nice slow sweep from you on the thermal imaging, and we're going to look for those blue windows to actually turn darker in color. So we're looking for one window to turn darker. If all of them obviously go at the same time, I'm not going to count that. But if one window starts to show a little bit darker in color or turns black, we obviously have some activity behind it. So that's what I get excited about it. When I'm looking into this building, I also get Zoe from Coogan's Porch that shows up from time to time. Where we came out of Philadelphia Alley is a restaurant about 2 blocks up. That restaurant used to be the home of a lady named Zoe St. Amand. She was a school teacher, she was French. And when they turned her house into a restaurant, it was the construction crew that used to feed a dog named Coogan, and then the new owners decided to name the place after her. And they built a memorial right in the front door. Great place to eat. Zoe can be found in the mirror. She's fallen down the stairs. That's how she died. So she will actually let us know. And how do I know it's Zoe specifically? Because she spells her name Z-O-E, not Z-O-E-Y. That's how she comes up, and it's been multiple times that I get Z-O-E-Y and or on my reverse spirit box. If I ask her, what does your house look like now? She'll tell me things like plate, spoon, fork, things that relate to a restaurant. It happens often. Sometimes I get both, sometimes I get none, sometimes I get one or the other. We just never know. So when I'm crossing the street and we're going to be on the wrong side of the building, we're going to hear on your audio, hey, do I have Zoe or George? So that way we'll see if we can get a definitive answer. Obviously, I want you guys to listen to the spirit box. People live back here now, so obviously know on your end, but we will conduct a quick experiment with your infrared, the red dot one, at the very top. It's going to be hard to hear your spirit box once you get to the front, so I'll walk slow as we walk up there and try to ask as many questions as possible. Again, we're going to be ending up on East Bay Street, so yours, like if we're going to get anything, is going to be alongside of the building, not in the front. It's going to go nuts in the front because of the meters, so just don't get excited for that. Questions, comments, concerns? You guys ready to see a couple last ghosts that we can see if we can actually find some evidence for? George or Zoe? It might. Sometimes we get lucky. Everyone said George. Zoe or George with me tonight? So, fine by 5 seconds.
Okay, cool. You okay?
I have to watch.
That's what happened to the ship. Alright, so do you see the very top where it looks like it's that whiter stone? Shoot your gun all the way to the top. There's nobody in there. Camera that. All the way up. Keep going, keep going. Right there. What do you got? Nope. Extra up.
57.
Okay, now go down to the little, right there.
86.
57 to 86. That's 29 degree difference.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
That's pretty crazy.
I don't know if it'll do it that far up or not. Mine, will it? Yeah, it won't do it.
35.
It's just sky. It's the sky. You can't. It's not. You can't zoom in or like. It's all blurs together from it. When you get that high up, it all blurs together. The structure.
A little tiny 29 degrees. I'll take it. Like, I'm gonna have to listen to your spirit box pretty closely. I didn't get much, but London didn't get the word burn. So when I asked, "Hey George, what happened to the ship?" She said she got the word burn. So that makes sense to me. So, were you able to verify that?
No, I get it. I couldn't get it like on a specific point. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get
it's
it all
hard
the
to
way
get
up
it.
there.
Yeah. Exactly on it.
And of course, I will text you guys in the morning all the evidence with my analysis. I usually have it done by noon. Sorry, no, it's hard to hear me down there. So I'll have that done for you by noon. I have 2 tours that I got to go through, so I usually spend about 2 hours on each tour, looking over all your data. In the event you guys find something extra, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me. My email address is on the card that I'm going to give you guys. So, what do you guys think? Think about anything? Skeptic?
I don't know, man. You'll tell us, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, this is the stuff they don't show
Did any
you.
of the windows get dark?
So this is all the hours and
They're all
hours and
dark.
hours.
They're all gonna be dark.
One location, and then
Right, all of them dark like that.
and
And as you get different angles on them, they'll turn different colors.
you want to check on his
Okay.
thermal